really quickly. All right, go ahead and write this question down. I'm gonna, and if I need to record this session um, over, I may let you guys go and record the session and post it. But let me just see what's happening. I think an alarm is going to go off in a minute. Do you guys have this question? So what we're doing today, we are in chapter 3. We're in chapter 3, and we're talking about our personal brand. We're talking about our personal brand. This is piggybacking off of our resume writing. If we recall with our resume, we had to identify our hard and soft skills and we wanted to incorporate them into our resume. Ideally, and I don't know how many people have gotten their resumes back yet, but um, if your resume had like a summary or qualifications or profile at the top, you would have a pretty much a summary of your qualifications. In chapter 3, it's going to talk about how you take that summary and create what we call a personal brand statement. That personal brand statement is essentially one sentence or two sentences where you just summarize your key skills about yourself. And then what you do is you use it. You can use it on like a LinkedIn. You can use it in your cover letter. And then additionally, what you do with this personal brand statement, you can use it to create what we call a personal commercial. We also call it an elevator pitch, and that's something that you'll be doing in your assignment tonight. So I wanted to tell you that really quickly. I'm trying to beat this sound that may go off in a minute. But so let me back up. Does everyone write this down really quickly? Because I want to make sure you guys have this just in case I have to go on mute. All right. So let's just back up, and I'll go as long as I can before. Really quickly, with your just a quick recap, guys. Your long and short term goals. Make sure that you get those done because they are part of a 3-part assignment, right? So if you don't do your long term goals from week 1, it's going to be very difficult for you to do parts 2 and 3. And make sure you check the feedback that I put in your long term goals. Some of us had end dates on our goals and some of us didn't. I know some of that is because the book doesn't give end dates, like when I talked about if you said that you wanted to become a master electrician within 6 years. I've seen people say, oh, I want to become a master electrician, but then they don't put an end date on it. So make sure you check the comments in that particular assignment that I did. I want to make sure that we get that right. All right. Also, with your career services interviews, I saw a few blanks where people had not made those appointments. Guys, you want to make sure you make those appointments because, again, you know, that mock interview in and of itself is really 4 parts. You get a grade for making the appointment, you get a grade for going to the appointment, and then there's 2 other assignments that's connected to that mock interview. So not going to the mock interview, you're already down 400 points. So you don't want that to happen. So for those of us that have not done that yet, please make sure you get that done. And then you should check your grades too, because all of your grades for anyone that has turned everything in up till 9 o'clock last night, all your grades are there. Do we have any questions before we go ahead and dig into chapter 3? All right. So with chapter 3, it's all about building your personal brand. So when we talk about your personal brand, what are we talking about? We're talking about things that you have, right, that you are going to use to promote yourself. Again, I know it sounds like you're promoting a business, but essentially you are a business. What are you selling? You're selling your services, are you not? So you are selling your services, the services that you are providing to either a company or if you start your own business to a customer. So you have to start thinking about, how am I going to brand myself? This is very different from just being an employee working for someone. When you're in a profession, you have to drive that ship. You have to decide, what type of professional I'm going to be, right? So your personal brand is all about trying to identify what that looks like. Again, are you going to be a subject matter expert? Are you going to be a corporate person? Are you going to own your own business? Like, what does that look like? What you want to do too is make sure that you are, taking into account things that are, make you different, things that, are specific to you, so you can think through, okay, how do I craft this brand for myself? What is that going to look like? You want to be clear, you want to be authentic, you want to make sure it has some relevance. Um, and then the statement itself, again, it's just one sentence that you can use that kind of sums up who you are. Some people even call it a tagline or a slogan. For example, I could say about myself, a seasoned educator with 20 years of um, teaching experience in business and IT. Kind of summed it up pretty quickly, right? That's all it takes, a seasoned, you know, um, educator with 20 years experience in business and IT. If I wanted to take it even further, I could talk about, where I've worked, experience in both national and international environments, teaching from primary all the way up to graduate school level. That's it. That's my personal brand statement. And I can put that anywhere. I can put it on my resume, I can put it in my cover letter, I can put it on LinkedIn. Why is that important? Well, first of all, what is probably going to be included in that tagline? Probably some hard and soft skills that I know companies are looking for, because they even comb through your taglines, people. Those ATS systems that we talked about last week, they even look at your taglines, which makes sense because they're trying to identify the right candidate, right? So even in your tagline, it's going to be important for you to sum up who you are and what you bring to the table. Does that make sense? Right? I know. Now, I know many of you may not have thought of yourselves as a business, but for me, that's the best way I know how to describe it, because at the end of the day, if you don't promote you, who's going to do it? Right? If you don't promote you, who's going to do it? And nobody else has a vision for your career but you. So, how do you create this brand statement? Now, hopefully, how many people have their resume back? Anybody has their resume? For those that have their resume, how many people have like a summary or qualifications or profile at the top? You do? So if you've noticed your profile at the top, you probably have like a summary already written in there. Maybe you've never paid attention to it. Maybe you've never thought, "Oh shoot, there's my tagline right there." Because, you're working with career services and they're going to, talk you through creating these summaries, but, you know, now you can actually say, "Okay, well, I can take this summary, take the first line, because typically that first line is almost like a tagline if you look at it. And you can plop that right on your LinkedIn. You can use it in your cover letter. And what we're also going to show you is how you take that statement and you can even create what we call a personal commercial. But if you don't have your resume, right? So for those of us that don't have it yet, um, how do you do that? Well, guess what? No big surprise. You're going to start with what? You're going to start with what you bring to the table. Typically, your qualities. Maybe that I don't know, you're really good at um, project management. Maybe that's an outlier type of skill that sets you apart. Maybe when you were younger, you used to help your grandfather in his business, and so you have some background experience in business. That makes you unique to from other candidates, right? But then you're going to take your hard and soft skills that you know companies are looking for, and you're going to come up with a descriptive phrase. What I said was I was a seasoned, educator with 20 years experience in both um, computers and business, right? I went on to say that, I had experience teaching from primary all the way up to graduate school. That's saying a lot in that one sentence, isn't it? Like I've already, what have I told you? I told you I got a whole bunch of years in the game, right? I've told you that I've taught internationally and abroad. A storm just hit too, guys. So hopefully you guys are not hearing all that background noise. I told you that I have experience in both in two different disciplines. I've said a lot in one sentence, have I not? And that's what it is. So if a school is looking for someone that works in business and IT, they're looking for a seasoned person. They're looking for someone that has maybe done some graduate school or even some primary school. They were like, okay, yeah, let me continue to read this person's resume. Does that make sense? So, um, again, where can you use it? Resume, cover letter, LinkedIn. But here are some examples that the book provides. Let's look at this one here. A creative problem solver who can combine math and science expertise to help develop a sustainable energy resources. A writer writes, a writer who is able to blend communication and critical thinking. Look at what they did. They did both hard and soft. Did y'all see that? A driven team player who uses leadership skills to motivate others, probably somebody trying to go into management. A Just skipping down a little bit, a product development coordinator with impeccable time management. You see what they're doing? You see how they're combining both those hard and soft skills, and they probably got it from some job description, or they got it from having this experience in the field and they know what that industry is looking for, right? So for myself, as an educator, I already know people are going to want you to have certain skill set, like the ability to write curriculum, the ability to use what we call learning management platforms, like Canvas. Definitely you need to have some other technical skills, like that's right off the jump. Oops, put myself on mute. If you're going to be teaching, right? Camuel, did you have a question or your hand was just up from having a resume? Not sure. Um,
And was for having a resume.
oh, okay, honey, no problem. So, this are some examples, where how you can pull from it. So if you're like saying, well, how do I write this? You know, if I don't have a lot of experience, well, I say lean on your soft skills, right? There's nothing wrong with saying, a a seasoned team player, or a solid candidate with wonderful team management or time management, and flexible team player, looking to transition into the electrical field, right? Nothing's wrong with that. But why would I say team player or time management? Well, if I know that those are skill sets that, electrical people are looking for, that's what I'm going to put in there. Does that make sense? So you don't have to necessarily pull from thin air what you're going to write. If you don't have a lot of experience, you're going to take it right from what these job descriptions are looking for. Does that make sense, guys? Is anyone confused on that, or do you need a little bit more explanation? Does that make sense? So if I then have this personal brand statement, now like I said, hopefully all your career services people will help you with yours, so you guys don't have to worry too much about that. But even if they're looking for you to help put it together, at least now you know how they do it, right? So you guys are going to be pros, right? So how then do I take that personal brand statement and make it into what the book calls an elevator pitch. And what is this elevator pitch? What does that mean? Well, basically, it's how you introduce yourself to strangers that you want to get to know because you want to talk to them about your career, whether it's ask them if they have a job, maybe you bumped into the boss in the elevator, maybe you're at a conference and you want to introduce yourself to, a company that you're looking to be a part of, right? It's how do you introduce yourself? That is what an elevator pitch is. Typically, it's no more than a few seconds, definitely not more than a minute. You don't want to go up to someone and start just rambling about yourself because that's weird, right? You want to be able to articulate in a very succinct way who you are, what you do, and most importantly, what it is that you want. So, how do you start from your personal statement? Well, your personal statement is going to be what you're going to use to draw from, right? You're going to use that to draw from your personal statement. And then you are going to figure out what it is you know exactly want to say. So let's say, for example, if you've bumped into someone at a conference and that company is looking for HVAC people or whatever, you may want to go up to them and say, hi, my name is Sam. I recently graduated from the HVAC program. And I see your company is looking to bring on some new talent, right? There you go. But the one thing I'm going to tell you to do, which the book doesn't do necessarily, is make sure you have that call to action, which is what do you want these people to do next, right? If someone comes up to you and says, hi, my name is Cynthia. I have over 20 years experience in the education field. I see you guys are looking for a new faculty member. And I stop right there. What would you think? You're going to be like, yeah, okay, what do you want from me? Right? Unless you're the recruiter themselves. So I have to tell you what I want you to do with that information. So I need to, do a call to action, which is basically tell you what to do next, which is I would love if you would pass on my resume to the hiring personnel. Or do you have a card so I can talk to you later? Or could you give me the name of the person that's looking to do the recruiting? You see what I did? I introduced myself. I put in my personal statement, and then I told them what I want and what I want them to do next. That's your commercial. Because anytime you go up to someone, you need to know why you're talking to that person. But before you tell them why you're talking to them, you want to introduce yourself and then what I call qualify yourself. That's that personal brand statement. You're qualifying yourself. So it's introduction, qualify, tell the person what you want, and then tell them what you want them to do. It doesn't always have to be a job that you want. It could just be you're looking for information. It could be you read something on their website and you want to talk about it more, right? It doesn't always have to be here's my resume. So your elevator pitch when you're introducing yourself could be used in a lot of different settings. Does that make sense, guys? What it's really about is networking. How do you network? Introduce, qualify, tell somebody what you want. And then you leave the door open for them to say, hey, yeah, let's continue to talk about this. Well, I don't have time right now. Let me give you this number. And at least now you're engaged with that person. It's as simple as that. Networking is not hard. It's just about knowing what to say. And once you know what to say, you're a pro, right? And you're just going to get better at it because now you're going to figure out your rhythm. You're going to figure out, when to say more, when to say less. What's the best, avenue to approach someone, for a particular, situation. Like, okay, when I go to a conference, I know this is the best time to talk about X. When I go to a job fair, this is the best time to talk about B. You understand what I'm saying? Like if I'm meeting someone in the elevator, I know I got to make it real quick, right? Hey, I'm Cynthia. I've been teaching for 20 years now. I see your company is looking for a new person. I love to, pass on my information, right? Got to be quick, right? You got to be quicker in the elevator than you would have to be if you're, standing in line at an airport and you just happen to bump into someone. What does that mean? That means that you're not going to always know when you're going to be engaging with people. So you have to be prepared. Does that make sense? So that's what the elevator pitch is about. When you are in a prepared situations and when you're in unprepared situations, how do you promote yourself? They always say if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So just stay ready because that a lot of people, some people define success as preparation and opportunity. You prepare, prepare, prepare. When the opportunity arises, you can take advantage of it. And I'm gonna tell you that's true. That has happened in most of my career. Most of my career, a lot of people might tease me because I stay in school and I stay learning and I stay, being engaged. I got involved with computers, and I'm in finance and education and, operations. And, they're like, why are you going to school for IT? And I'm like, because I see my field is going to IT. If I don't learn this software stuff, if I don't learn this database stuff, I'm make myself obsolete. And sure enough, that's what's happening now in the IT field. A lot of people becoming obsolete because the only thing that they knew how to do was hardware or a few software applications or a few web development, but they never learned, some other coding. They never learned database. They never learned cyber. I learned it all. And I'm going to keep learning because it's part of my repertoire. So when someone approaches me for consulting or whatever, and they'll say, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do that?" I sure can. I sure can. And that so if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. That is my advice to you, right? So when you how do you take this personal brand statement and you make it into a commercial? Here's some examples. Personal brand statement, again, typically one sentence, two sentences at the most. A marketing professional who is dedicated to creating jaw-dropping promotions. Simple enough, but how is she going to introduce herself? Susan is not going to, just walk up to someone and say, a marketing professional who is dedicated to creating jaw-dropping promotions. They're going to be like security, right? So what is Susan going to do? She's going to start by introducing herself. My name is Susan Rakowski. I am an assistant marketing product manager. She goes on to talk about her degree. She goes on to talk about her skill set, right? Now, maybe if Susan's in the right type of situation, she can maybe keep going a little bit, but you don't want to do it too much. You want to get right to why are you talking to this person? Does that make sense? Introduce, qualify, say what you want. The book stops at the qualify, but what I want you to practice doing, because you're going to practice it tonight or whenever you do this assignment, is doing some type of ask. Don't just stop at introducing and qualifying yourself because that is not real world, right? Real world is introduce, qualify, what do you want, call to action. Do you guys understand? My name is Cynthia Taylor, qualify, 20 years experience in education, computer science and tech. What do you want? I saw your company is looking for a new faculty. Call to action. Do you mind if I have a card so I can talk to the person in charge? That's a real commercial. So, what you're going to do tonight, and I thank you for allowing me to run through that because I just knew that a fire alarm was going to go off. Um, we want you guys to rehearse because you have to rehearse. I know a lot of times, school can be a little daunting because of grades. But what I tell people, this is where you're supposed to mess up. You're supposed to practice in school. I don't want anybody to try to be perfect in school. Like I've always been maybe a little rebel when it comes to that, especially, when I've been in school and I've been in school my entire life. I can honestly say, and I'm not I'm 52 years of age, and I've been in school since I was 4. I almost feel like I'm in some type of program. Hi, my name is Cynthia, and I've been in school since I was 4. That's a long time, my friends. That's exhausting, right? I'm always in school for something. I'm telling you, I feel like I'm on a program. I need a 12-step program or something. But as such, because I understand the importance of it, but additionally, I also understand the importance of the process of education. So I'm really big on that. So I don't want you ever to feel, anxiety about doing, your schoolwork. And why am I saying that? Because guess what? I want you to take a video of yourself. They're like, Miss Taylor, where you get that? Every time I tell people I want them to take a video of themselves doing this commercial, they get anxiety. I don't want you to get anxiety. It's just practice. I know some people even have anxiety about doing those mock interviews. It's okay. Anybody had a little nervousness about doing their mock interviews? It's common, even though we know it's just a practice interview. It's like exact. And I always feel bad if because I get anxiety myself. I'm a very anxious person, so I hate putting other people in those situations. Y'all don't even know how much I hate it. I hate it more for you than you hate it for yourself because I don't like being in situations that make me anxious. So I get it. So I always try to take down the temperature in my classroom because I want you to learn. I don't want you to be nervous. Like I don't think that's how people learn. I think people learn by being comfortable. So what we want you to do, like I said before, getting back to this, is this is actually your participation question, which is a little different from your questions in the past. And this particular assignment ties into your Monday's assignment, right? So this particular participation question ties into it. You actually have to do this first before you do your personal commercial. Now, if you have your resume, even if you have one that's not fully done and you have a summary at the top, technically that is your personal brand statement. You can take that and use that as your personal brand statement, right? Um, Normally, it's the first sentence in your summary. If you don't have it, I just want you to practice creating one. It doesn't take a lot. Just qualify yourself. What are you? I'm a VA, I'm electrical, I'm HVAC, and if you're just getting into the program, just state that, a newly graduate of HVAC program, transitioning into a new career in HVAC. State it right out the gate. But if you want to add to that, maybe you want to say, a seasoned small business, maybe you've worked for small businesses in the past and now you're transitioning into HVAC, right? So I'm just trying to think of, how I would frame that. I may say something like, a seasoned project worker on small, working with small to medium sized enterprises transitioning into the welding industry, right? Something if you just want to add a little bit more flavor to it, and then if you want to take it to another sentence, because maybe you are so new and you want to like really pull on your soft skills, maybe you can talk about that. Previous experience includes, and whatever your previous experience includes. But how do you know what to add? Well, talk about things that are important to the welding industry or the HVAC industry or the VA industry, some of those soft skills, which is why we wanted you guys to do those keyword searches. Were those keyword searches that you guys did on Thursday, was that helpful? I am big on the more you know. I know they're getting rid of PBS, but PBS was really good for anybody grew up on PBS. Anybody know that phrase, the more you know? It is so true, right? I don't know why they messing up these kids. PBS is where we got all our education. All the schools showed PBS, right? The more you know, I think the more confident you are. Is that not the case? So I think by you just doing that research and you're becoming more familiar with what your industry needs, it makes you more confident, does it not? It just makes you more confident, and once you have that confidence on what you're doing, it's not like any of you don't have the ability. Clearly, you have ability, you wouldn't be here, right? And many of you have a lot of skill, but it's all about just getting that confidence, right? Some of you have probably great confidence in things that you already know how to do. So don't cheat yourself like you know that you are bad. Mother, you know what? Y'all you know you bad. You just got to learn this new skill set, and that's how you have to look at it, right? So keep your confidence. Don't ever let something new make you nervous. All right? So you're going to do this personal brand statement, easy peasy. Now once you do the statement, what I want you to do afterwards is do this quick little commercial. And you're going to do it just like I wrote it down, just like it was written on that example. Put your first, hi, my name is. Read that personal brand statement. Make up what you want to, it's a hypothetical, so make it up. Just don't stop at just say, hi, my name is, and then give me your statement. That's weird. That's not real life. So introduce yourself, qualify yourself with your statement, make a fake ask, and then make a fake call to action. Do we understand? Like, watch yourself doing it. I mean, so how do you do the commercial? So, when you go to your submit assignment, right? And if y'all remember, when you hit that green button on submit assignment, what happens? It gives you an option to upload a file. You don't have to do that unless you want to make a commercial and you're comfortable knowing how to do that. You can click on text entry, or there's another button that says video, and you can click on that and you can record yourself right there. So you don't have to go anywhere special. You don't have to do it on your phone and upload it and all that. You can do it right in the assignment. Miss Taylor, I have stage fright. Oh my God, this is giving me so much anxiety. Now listen, I don't want to put you through all that. If for any reason you do not feel that you can do it comfortably, you don't have the mechanisms to do it, and you want to use text entry and write it all in, I am not going to hold that against you, because I want you to just understand how to do it. I don't want you to be panicked over doing a video. I know some people that would give me anxiety, so maybe that's why I'm telling you guys. I had a couple people in my morning class like, "Oh, Miss Taylor, this gives me anxiety." I'm like, "I understand, girl. It gives me anxiety too." Go ahead, Anthony.
Is there any way that we can get feedback on this video? Like, is it like, can we get some feedback for like pointers
Absolutely.
or?
That's one of the assignments you will definitely get feedback on. Don't worry about that. So if you do it, then that's a great point, Anthony, because if you do it, I will give you feedback, right? There are certain assignments you're going to get tons of feedback on. Other ones are is just a good to go, thumbs up. But like the one, like your long-term goals, you definitely get feedback. And I think I said it at the top of the hour. Make sure you check the feedback that I've given you on that assignment.
My
Your hmm?
my American English is not that good, so I'm not going to do a video no lot.
It's okay. Listen, I get for a lot of different reasons people are get I just don't want you to be stressed out. I've had students, I've been teaching this class for years. I've have students that do
And I
way worse than this, have to get up and do whole presentations and they about to put themselves in the hospital over it. So I just don't want
and I
anybody to
talk
feel
too fast.
you talk too fast.
Yo,
Yeah. Well, so do I, Camwell. And just to make you feel better about that, I remember when I was in the army and I was stationed in Illinois. And anybody knows the Midwest? Anybody from the Midwest? And in the Midwest, up in that area, they speak very slowly, very slowly. And I was born and raised in Florida, and then I moved to my first duty station was in Georgia, and then I went to Illinois. And so, they oh my God, they gave me such a hard time about my accent. My accent was horrible. I mean, if you grew up in the South and you talk really, really fast, which now that I'm down here again, I've started to speak really fast. But when I lived in Illinois, they could not understand me. Oh my God, they gave me such a hard time that my my diction changed, my enunciation changed, and my pace of speaking slowed down so bad, guys, that when I came back home years later to Florida, for the first like 4 or 5 days, I couldn't hear anybody because my even my ear had gotten so accustomed to the Midwest. Anybody ever had that situation happen to them? Like if you grew up on one side of the country, then you move to another, and people don't understand it. That's a real thing. And it wasn't until I came back home to Florida and my brother was talking to me and I couldn't understand him. And then I remember he because he came down, he came up to Chicago and we drove down, and his wife at the time was Guyanese. So I just want you to understand, she's Guyanese. We're in Florida, and he takes me to a fast food restaurant just to drive through. I could not order because I could not understand the person. When I went to his house for the first couple of days, it was just straight tennis match. I just watched them talk. I could not hear them. It scared me a little. But now I understood when people say they can't hear you well, they don't understand you well. Don't feel bad about it. It's just their ear can't pick up what the way you're pronouncing something, how fast you're speaking. True story. I mean, it's so funny. And then I lived in Chicago. I mean, I lived in New York. I lived in Jersey. And even as I'm saying that, my voice is changing. I don't know if you've noticed, because now my diction is all over the place because my accent is all over the place as well, just because I've lived in those different places. So don't feel bad. It's not you. It's just it's 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 human nature to for your ear to pick up on things and then for you to repeat it. It's very natural. All right, but anyway, so I said all of that to say, like, if it really makes you nervous, you don't have to do it. Just write it down. All right? But I do want you guys to practice, because you're going to have to, when you go to your mock interview, which is one of the reasons why we want you to practice, this is one of the first things you're going to have to do is introduce yourselves. Some of you don't really even know your career services people, right? So you have to introduce yourself. All right? So we just want you to practice. Are we good? So let me put your participation question back up. For those that did not get it, you are creating a personal brand statement, which is a little different from just a Q&A. You need to create that statement. Like I said before, if you already have your resume, should be simple enough. You can use that. Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead. Oh, okay.
So with the participation question, is that just to write it out and then you have a separate assignment that you want us to then record what we've written, or like what's going on?
So your participation question is to create your personal brand statement. You turn it in. Your assignment is to then use your personal brand statement to create an elevator pitch or personal commercial. Now, we talked about it for the past, half hour or so, how to do that. And then you record yourself reciting the commercial. Your statement is part of your commercial. Is, is that not clear? Um,
Yes, man. I just was trying to make sure I was doing it right. I didn't want to turn in the wrong thing, so I
no,
appreciate it.
I know, no, but I was just nervous because I was getting these thumbs ups, and then I'm like, oh, did I confuse them with that? So we understand, right? So the commercial is in your statement is embedded in your commercial. So you'll need your statement first anyway, because you're going to have some type of statement when you do your commercial. Because after you say, hi, my name is, you're going to state your statement, which is qualify yourself. So if you do your participation question first, you create the statement, turn that in, and then you're going to use it when you write out your commercial, and then you're going to practice your commercial. You can just read it on the video.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
So, and then like here, if in chapter 3, you see here this slide I put up, on the left-hand side is a statement, and then on the right-hand side, they actually wrote the commercial from their statement. The only difference is, I mean, clearly she introduced herself in the first sentence, Then she basically took this, and instead of her just saying she's a marketing professional, she just expanded. She talked about what school she went to, and then she went on to say she's a marketing professional. I was saying you don't even have to dig into it like this, because you don't always know where you're going to meet someone. You may not even have time to get that granular into it. So you can just say, "Hi, my name is." I could just say, "Hi, my name is Susan Rakowski. I'm a marketing professional who's dedicated to creating jaw-dropping promotions. I see you guys are looking for a new marketing director. I would love to talk to you more about it." I just put my name at the top. I stated my statement. I said why I'm talking to you, and I closed it out. The only difference here, instead of her just saying she's a marketing professional, she just went on to say where she worked and, a little bit more about what makes her a marketing professional. But I don't even want you to have to dig that deep. You can just make a statement and use it for your commercial. Make sense? All right, guys. So if you have any questions, or if you want me to look at it, if you, like I said, I'm going to give you feedback on this assignment anyway because I want you to get it right. But if you want to send it to me first or whatever you want to do to make yourself comfortable, feel free to do it. Okay. All right, guys. If you don't have any questions, thank you so much. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.